don't know if the camera picked that up, but that was so cute. Before we begin, 2 things. First thing, this will contain spoilers. You have been warned. Second thing, the closer we got to the release of this sequel, I admit, deep down, I actually found myself wanting to like this. I wanted to be excited. It was something about seeing the cast do like press for this, like seeing them together. I got excited. So going in to the movie, I was weirdly hopeful, like more hopeful than I thought I was gonna be when I first heard about this sequel. So let's start with the good. The movie looked incredible. The lighting, the sets, the costuming, all great. It's to be expected, really. He does know how to create a vibe though. And going into a sequel, especially a sequel to a movie as iconic as Beetlejuice, I think there was an expectation for things to be bigger somehow than the original. And I think this was achieved. We got to see a little more of the afterlife, some more sets, some different characters, and the house. The house being draped in mourning was truly an iconic move and such a fun way to present the iconic Maitland Dietz house with Delia's signature and insane sense of style. Speaking of Delia, Catherine O'Hara was a delight in this, of course. That woman just breathes, and I think it's the funniest thing to ever happen on planet Earth. It was also so nice to see Winona Ryder as Lydia again, and of course Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice. And all of that was super good and super awesome. It could not make up for the story. The story as a whole sucked ass. Like, I get with the time that has passed in the movie universe as well. It's the same amount of time that's passed in real life. There will have been character developments and things that have changed that we missed, that happened in the timeline between these 2 movies. But all of it was just told to us in dialogue, and it's like so unnatural and clunky. Like, everything about Lydia's character, her relationship with Rory, and the past she has with Astrid's now deceased father, all of that was dialogue. All of it was dialogue. The only thing they did show us rather than tell us is what happened to Charles Dietz in a very interesting animated sequence. I'm not gonna lie, it was a creative way to show rather than tell what happens to him, and it's a creative way to get around not inviting a pedophile back to play this character in the movie. But I gotta say that it's just the addition of that animated sequence kind of just like took me out of it for a second. I think the ultimate problem with this movie is that there were just way too many characters. Like, we added way too many characters. And honestly, character Rory did not need to be in this. He didn't need to be in it. There was enough conflict between Astrid and Lydia that would make for a compelling story if it were given the time to actually like develop and go somewhere, without his character literally just being in the way and being annoying the entire time. And the villains, gods above. Monica Bellucci as Dolores, I'm gonna say it, also didn't need to be in the movie. I feel like you could have easily taken her character out and it wouldn't have made a difference. The most she does is just have like a really cool Sally the Ragdoll inspired scene where she puts her body parts back together. And then she just kind of like floats around the movie on occasion, sucking the souls out of random ghosts while asking where Beetlejuice is. So you kind of get the feeling that she's like the big bad. Like, Beetlejuice is the villain, but then you have Dolores who's like the bigger bad. And you figure all of her searching is going to lead to a final like confrontation slash standoff kind of thing. And how silly of me to think that that would be the case, because she just shows up at the church, Beetlejuice pushes Rory in front of her, and then they get eaten by a sandworm. All of that buildup of her character for nothing. for literally nothing. She's not the only one. Astrid meets a boy in town and they hit it off after he has one of those, like, you're not like other girls moments when he finds out that she's read Crime and Punishment. Kill me now. They hit it off and then they hang out one other time before having like this big Halloween date where it's revealed again through dialogue that the boy is actually dead and he murdered his parents and they're stuck in the house like the Maitlands were, right? And so he's tricked Astrid to going to the afterworld and trading her soul for his, which is also a pretty big conflict. No, you would think that would go somewhere. Incorrect. Astrid gets tricked. She gets saved from the soul train by Lydia and her father, who it's discovered is working in the underworld. So they have a nice moment, a nice little reunion that pretty much solves Lydia and Astrid's conflict. Also, it just wraps that up kind of nicely. Then they go back to the station to stop the boy from like finalizing the soul transfer, but it's handled very quickly, Deus Ex Machina style. Beetlejuice just drops the kid into a fiery pit and then Astrid's soul is saved. Happens in like 30 seconds. I don't get why there was time wasted on these plots that went nowhere. Like, they set up a whole bunch for it to have no payoff. Like I said, Astrid and Lydia had enough conflict just between those two characters. Astrid could have just as easily come across the handbook for the recently deceased at the Deeds' house, or she could have encountered Beetlejuice and found her way to the afterworld that way, and then Lydia has to go find her and save her. Like, that's a story. That's a story there. I don't understand why we had to have all these other little things going on that it just pulled attention away and made everything feel so flat and so lifeless. Pun not intended this time. All of this took away, I felt, from Beetlejuice, which is insane because he's the whole point of the story. His name is literally the title. And I feel like the addition of these other bad characters almost like takes away from the fact that Beetlejuice is a bad guy. I know because of pop culture and everything and the influence of the first movie and this performance, it's truly an iconic performance from Michael Keaton. But like, Beetlejuice as a character is a villain. Like, he's a perverted, pedophilic demon ghost thing. He's not a good guy. And I feel like, is that not villain enough? Like, I feel like we kind of lost sight of him actually being a bad dude in this movie for really no reason, because he didn't have any character development either. So, or just pick one. I don't know why we had to have like the whole subplot with the boy and Dolores, like, or maybe just pick one. I don't know. It just felt to me that the movie focused way too much on nostalgia and not on making a good story. Like, a story that makes sense, that has setup and has payoff and has action and development, and it isn't explained to us in dialogue. The nail in the coffin, though, for me, pun intended this time, was the lack of Danny Elfman. His only real presence that I felt was in the opening credits of the movie. He got lost in the soundtrack of this movie. It was all just soundtrack shit. Like, it felt like a Netflix drama. Like, we're gonna put in some moody, like, popular kind of goth music in there, and that's it. And no Danny Elfman score. Like, what the fuck? Like, you're gonna focus so much on all the nostalgia and you're not gonna have Danny Elfman's signature sound to back this up. On my way home from the theater, I listened to the original score of Beetlejuice, because it just didn't feel right to not hear something, right? So honestly, I stand by my 2-star rating on Letterboxd. The stars were for the nostalgia and for the performances, but overall the story sucked to me. It just sucked. It just feels, to me, it feels insulting that they would put a story out like that and be like, yep, audiences are just gonna be fine with the nostalgia fest, so we'll give them their favorite actors back. and then they'll be satisfied with that, and it doesn't matter if the story's garbage. But as I was scrolling through Letterboxd this weekend, I feel like I'm kind of alone in my lower rating, so I can't wait to hear what you guys think about it in the comments. If you liked it, I'm looking forward to hear why you enjoyed it, and then if anyone else out there was disappointed like I was, please help me feel less alone. I appreciate it. So Beetlejuice was the biggest movie that came out this weekend. It's not the only movie that came out this weekend though, so I will have a review of The Front Room coming next. Can't wait to see that one. So I will see you in that review. Until then, stay strange. Bye.